welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking the actual mechanics of how rental properties build wealth over time. There is just so much noise out there about real estate, right? Well, we're going to strip all of that away and look directly at the underlying financial foundation. And we're going to kick things off with a pretty fascinating mental exercise that might just completely change how you view your income and your assets. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so I want you to picture this. Imagine buying a tiny little machine, and every single month, people actually pay you to use it. The money you get, it goes right into covering the cost of owning and running that machine. Years go by, it just keeps doing its thing, generating income. Eventually, the whole thing is completely paid off. But guess what? Those monthly payments just keep rolling in. Now take that tiny machine out of your head and replace it with a house, or maybe a small apartment building. This right here is exactly why so many folks are drawn to rental properties. It's not magic, and it's definitely not risk-free, but a well-managed property has this incredible potential to create income while slowly transforming into a massive long-term asset.
Section 1. The asset mindset. Working versus owning. To really wrap our heads around this, let's look at two 33-year-olds. We'll call them Emma and David. Now, they both have really stable jobs, and they both diligently save a chunk of their income every single month, but they have vastly different philosophies when it comes to their finances. See, Emma firmly believes that the only way to build wealth is just by working harder, putting in those extra hours, chasing promotions, basically relying purely on her own sweat and labor. David, on the other hand, believes wealth can also come from owning productive assets. When he actually tells Emma he's thinking of buying a small apartment, she literally laughs. She's like, why on earth would you want another job? But David sees it differently. He's hoping that if he plays his cards right, it won't just be another job. He is dead set on building a productive asset.
Think about it like buying a bicycle. You ride it every day, right? And over time, it naturally wears out. Eventually, it's worth way less than what you originally paid for it. It loses value simply because you're using it. Now, contrast that with a small apartment. Instead of just depreciating the more it gets used, someone is actually paying you every single month to live in it. Sure, the overall value of the property might go up or down depending on the market, but in the meantime, that monthly rent is actively helping to offset your expenses.
Moving on to Section 2, Expectation versus Reality, the realities of ownership.
So after months of doing his homework, David doesn't go out and buy a massive mansion. He smartly chooses a modest apartment with costs he can actually manage. But when he finally takes the leap and his first tenant moves in, Emma says something that hits on a super common misconception. She watches the process and says, "I thought rental income was just free money." David just kind of laughs and says, "Yeah, I wish." Emma basically assumes that the rent check David collects is pure, effortless profit sliding right into his back pocket.
Oh boy, it is definitely not free money. Right out of the gate, David gets hit with the harsh realities of ownership. Every time that rent check arrives, a whole bunch of expenses arrive right along with it. We're talking property taxes, insurance premiums, routine maintenance, and those lovely, unexpected, highly expensive repairs. And sometimes, the place sits totally empty. Occasional vacancies mean absolutely no rent is coming in at all. The reality is, owning rental property involves constant, ongoing responsibilities and some very real financial risks.
Honestly, you kind of have to treat real estate like planting an apple orchard. When you plant an orchard, you're not walking out the next morning expecting to pick a fresh apple, right? No, you have to prepare the soil, water those trees, and protect them from nasty storms. It takes years of hard work before that orchard actually starts producing fruit season after season. Rental properties demand that exact same patience and careful management. The biggest rewards, they do not happen overnight. It takes a serious, long-term commitment.
Section 3. The 4 Pillars, Building Wealth.
So, as Emma watches David put in all this elbow grease, she finally asks how this whole thing actually creates financial stability. That's when David points out something she totally missed about his monthly mortgage payments. Depending on his specific loan structure, those payments aren't just vanishing into thin air to cover interest. A solid chunk is actually reducing the loan balance itself. David explains equity kind of like a slowly filling bucket. Every single payment chips away at that loan, which increases the portion of the property he owns outright. I mean, at first, the progress feels incredibly tiny, almost invisible. But year after year, that bucket is steadily filling up.
And these mechanics right here, they form what we call the 4 pillars of rental wealth. David lays them all out. Pillar 1 is rent and income, those regular payments from tenants that might just leave some cash flow after all the bills are paid. Pillar 2 is equity, which we just talked about, where loan payments gradually increases true ownership. Pillar 3 is potential appreciation. The chance that the property's value goes up over a long period, though keeping it real, values can definitely drop too.
And finally, pillar 4 is reinvestment, taking any unspent income and using it to buy even more assets. Now, no single pillar on its own guarantees you're going to be rich, but when you put them all together, they create this incredibly powerful compounding wealth-building engine.
To really put this reinvestment pillar into perspective, imagine two friends who both get a nice bonus at work. The first friend, they spend every last dime of it on expensive, lavish vacations. They are purely enjoying today. The second friend uses a portion of their bonus to upgrade their apartment building. They are investing in tomorrow. Now, neither choice is automatically right or wrong. I mean, life is absolutely meant to be enjoyed. But how you balance your present enjoyment with your future security, that is what creates a massive difference in the long-term financial flexibility you're ultimately going to have.
Let's jump to section 4, the power of time, compounding wealth.
To see this in action, we have to hit the fast-forward button and look at the compounding effect over decades. Let's look at David's timeline. Year 1, he buys that very first modest apartment. 10 years later, David has managed to save up a chunk of his rental income and uses it to help buy a second property. Boom! Now he has 2 income-generating properties. His first property literally paved the way for his second. By year 20, this patient, incredibly steady compounding has led to some serious financial stability. Notice it was never some crazy, sudden windfall. It was a slow, deliberate build over 2 full decades.
Section 5, Risks and True Rewards, the final lesson.
Now, let's be completely transparent here. Real estate is absolutely not some magic guaranteed path to wealth. There are continuous, highly significant risks involved every step of the way. Over his 20-year journey, David had to survive periods where property values took a nosedive. He dealt with tenants bailing on him unexpectedly. He had to shell out cash for painfully expensive repairs like replacing entire roofs. He had to pivot when interest rates shot up and constantly adapt to changing tax laws. Investing in real estate means navigating relentless market fluctuations and, let's face it, managing a whole lot of stress.
There are 0 shortcuts here, guys. The most successful approach absolutely requires careful research and very realistic expectations. Wealth is not built just by signing a paper and buying a property. It is built by holding on to productive assets, managing them wisely through all those crazy risks we just talked about, and perhaps most crucially, giving them the actual time they need to grow. It's really all about building a solid financial foundation, just one single brick at a time.
So, after 20 long years of maintaining those roofs, dealing with tenant drama, and weathering economic storms, what exactly is David's big payoff? Well, Emma went on to enjoy a wonderful life full of travel and experiences. And David enjoyed his life too, but his reward looks just a little bit different today. See, the greatest benefit he achieved isn't some crazy over-the-top luxury. It's options. He literally bought himself options. He now has the freedom to dial back his working hours if he wants to, the option to easily help his kids out with college, or the option to just retire totally comfortably thanks to this extra income flowing in alongside his other savings.
So as you think about Emma and David's very different journeys, I want you to take a hard look at your own mindset. Look closely at how you balance your labor versus your assets. Are you relying 100% on just working harder and harder, or are you actively looking for ways to build productive assets? How are you balancing the stuff you enjoy today with the options you're going to want tomorrow? Seriously, ask yourself, are you building your financial foundation one brick at a time?